Uh, One of Donald Trump's favorite leaders in the world, the Al-Qaeda Prime Minister of Syria, uh, is apparently not planning to start any wars with Israel, as he has said earlier on in his since he took after he took over. And yet, yesterday, I'm sure you heard this was all over the news, all over the world. Syria fired rockets at Israel. Yeah, no, it wasn't all over the news. The news is more interested in reporting Hamas propaganda than what Islamic terrorists are actually doing around the world to kill as many of us, and no, not us Jews, us Westerners, and make the world a worse place. So yeah, Israel, of course, responded militarily after quite a while of not really acting in Syria. You may remember that in the immediate aftermath of the downfall of the uh, uh, secular dictator of Syria, Assad, and his replacement with al-Julani, the Al-Qaeda leader of Syria. Israel bombed Syria heavily for a while, basically to destroy their military capabilities, so that when Al-Qaeda decides it is time to go to war with Israel, it'll be more difficult for them than it currently is or currently was. But yeah, that's not stopping them. Remember, they love death more than we love life, and dying is something they'll be happy to do if that's what it takes. It'll be interesting to see how this develops in the sense of you know what the world what the important parts of the world. Let's mostly say the United States of America, what they will do, how they will react. Hopefully, it'll be different from how they reacted to, Ukraine's incredible operation in Russia, uh, blaming Ukraine for escalating or whatever it was, and hopefully, they will support Israel and will help bring the downfall of the new Syrian regime. Because, yeah, if the West actually doesn't want the threat of Islamic terrorism, such regimes should not exist. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Razi Ginsburg. I'm joined by Daniel Kraus. Daniel, it's been a long time since we've spoken about Syria, weeks, I believe. We were talking about their attempts to get rid of the populations that they don't really like. And yeah, within Syria now, they are going after Israel. What do you make of this? What do you think we should expect in the near future?
So funnily enough, I think the last time we talked about Syria, I might have been at the exact same location. So basically, whenever we talk about the Syrian new government, I have to hide. But yeah, it's so we don't technically. I still we don't know sort of like who launched this specific attack. I've seen some terrorist organization or some group within Syria has claimed this. I've seen that Mohammed al-Deif brigades have claimed it. I've never heard of them before. I couldn't find anything about them either. So maybe, but we don't know. Now we also know that there are different factions still inside of Syria. So you have the sort of government, and it's sort of like jihad, many of the jihad related sort of groups. You have the Turkey-backed forces. You have still some remnants of the Iranian forces or sort of like Iran allied forces. You do still kinda have Hezbollah there. So it could come from any of them. We don't know. This group has claimed that they want to continue, but all of this fundamentally shouldn't matter. Whenever Israel is attacked by anything, it's never attacked by any government. Besides Iran, none of the attacks on Israel have been by any government, right? It's Hezbollah in Lebanon. Lebanon is the official government, but the attacks are technically coming from Hezbollah. There is an sort of like an official government in Yemen, but the attacks are coming from the Houthis. But fundamentally, it should be no different. Israel needs to defend itself. It's not like you say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, it wasn't us. It wasn't the government of Syria." Oh, okay. So whoever it was, they can continue attacking, and we will not do anything about it. So Israel should absolutely respond. And if the new government of Syria is unable to stop these are coming from their territories. All of Syria, we have the new constitution of Syria. All of the Syrian borders are sovereign land of this new government, so they are responsible for everything that happens. If the attacks are going to continue, not from this group, but from any other group. If the government is unstable, if the government is unable to sort of control the situation, Israel should do whatever is necessary to protect itself. If it means, as it did sort of like early into the new government, sort of going into some parts of Syria and occupying it, that's what you do. If this would mean going further, that's what you do. Whatever is necessary for Israel defense. Again, this government is not legitimate. It has no sort of like right. Uh, Governments themselves don't have any sort of like right to exist. What matters is the right of individuals. Specifically, Israel should care about the right of Israeli individuals. And if it wants, and if the new Syrian government is unable to protect or sort of like to stop attacks from coming out, Israel can, as far as I'm concerned, Israel can go in and annex parts of it or control more of it, more for its own security than the sort of like mission, savior mission to
Yeah.
save
Oh,
civilian
yeah.
people.
Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, I saw a woman with a Palestine flag head covering on Victoria Line just now. Yeah. I'm not gonna use the right-wing London. Oh, Theory has something to say about that. Yeah, I'm not gonna use the right wing, London has fallen kind of thing, but it is falling. Yeah, and by the way, it's PLO flag. It's the flag of the terrorist organization that invented this ideology of Palestinianism. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. People in the chat, if you have something to say, say it once, especially if it's something that is disagreement with us, but is, relevant, and we will talk about it. But if you do say the same thing multiple times, at some point it is spamming, and for that you will be removed. Uh, but yeah, somebody says Syrian government would never fire these rockets. They've been clear that they don't want a war with Israel. Yeah, Syrian government did not fire these rockets. I hope you do this in an anti-Israel podcast as well, when somebody shows a video of settler violence, often, of course, initiated by Palestinians before they press record, but shows a video of settler violence and says, "Oh, look what Israel does." Look, if you're not okay. By the way, an actual incident of this last week after the Israeli Cup final, where uh, fans of a team, Beitar Jerusalem, many of whom pride themselves on their racism, did beat up an Arab bus driver. I saw a lot of claims, oh, they're getting away with it. The government doesn't do anything. Of course, the government, those guys are going to be in trouble. Assuming they're identified and found, which people do get away with crimes everywhere. But if the government the police will try to find them, and they will be in trouble. This is a moment for Syria to decide. You can't say, okay, people are shooting from our territory into your territory, and we, the government, are in no way responsible for that. And you mentioned Hezbollah. Yeah, it could be Hezbollah. Hezbollah is active, or no, it's not in this case, but they are active. They are kind of starting to be more active in South Lebanon, and this is we've reminded people of the claim from Lebanon, while Hezbollah was firing daily at the north of Israel and Israel wasn't doing anything yet in response. They said if Israel responds, this is war with the Lebanese army. That makes sense. It's your country. If people are firing from your territory, that is on you. So yeah, be consistent with this. I mean, you're wrong even if you are consistent, but at least be consistently wrong and say, oh yeah, if Israelis who are not soldiers or cops are beating up Arabs, no big deal. Again, that's absolutely not true. The Israeli government is responsible for finding those criminals, and the Syrian government is responsible for this. Thank you, Matthew, for becoming a member of the YouTube channel. Daniel.
Well, just to talk a little bit about the story of the Arab bus driver. It's not that Israeli government is responsible. It's the police, right? You have things to like Israel has a whole system, whole judiciary to figure these things out to make sure this is both punished or sort of like dealt with appropriately, right? When we look at Syria, we are not looking at the state as you would know it. It's basically like it's a dictatorship. Like they have technically a parliament, but everything goes like I don't remember. I read the new constitution. I think like half. I'm not sure if they filled the parliament yet, but like half of parliament is like picked by the president. It's a one-man dictatorship in all but name, pretty much. So in that regard, everything is on him, right? He doesn't have any institution to sort of hold accountable. So he needs to make sure something happens about this. He needs to make sure that this is dealt with appropriately, or sort of what needs to happen. And if not, then there will be consequences. This is, you know, founding a new state is not a good idea, or it's not an easy thing to do. This is what you get, especially coming from this sort of civil war that hasn't really ended. Turkey, I think, recently has said, "Yeah, we're not leaving. We're just gonna stay here. We'll see what happens." So what is the response to that? Like, people are saying how Israel is like occupying Syria now, when it's like holding like this bit land, and you have like Turkey occupying like what, like 1/5 of it, or like the whole like northern portion. So yeah, we should, you know, I'm kind of sorry for some of the Syrian people, but sort of like a good luck with this sort of government. And if some of them want to be sort of become part of Israel, or as we've seen some calls from some of the Jewish communities, um, sort of like all for it. I don't think the new Syrian government has any chance to sort of continue further, especially when, like I said, you still have Turkey present. Russia's gonna stay here. Iran has also all the reasons to destabilize it as much as it can. And also Israel, fairly enough, has some reason to make it destabilized. I mean, again, we done an episode about the Constitution. This is like a jihadist government. It's a one-man dictatorship. They have Sharia law is to be the supreme law of the land. This is, you might say, or the president might say, the new president of Syria, like it's interim president, has said that he might not want to do anything with Israel. He might accept the Abraham Accords, but this is now that he has nothing to gain from attacking Israel. But in the future, he has no reason not to be anti-Israel, as every single country in the region. What country in the region is like this, like pro-Israel or pro-Western sort of state, besides sort of like on paper, like Saudi Arabia, where it's more convenient for them to be technically aligned with the West?
Yeah. Yeah, so look, the Turkey part in this is a big thing, and it is a big part of Israel concern, and I'm sure it is one of the reasons why Israel is holding that chunk of land within Syria, basically to make sure that that Israel can be protected much better. That if Syria or whoever controls Syria has the kind of has the military capability to attack Israel, that they are at a better point to defend themselves than they would otherwise be. And yeah, Turkey has made it very clear that they want to be in charge there, and Israel does not want a border with Turkey. Turkey is an enemy of Israel. It's an enemy of the West. The West will find this out, unfortunately, I think, when it's too late. But it is an enemy. Of course, Iran has not given up. Iran just has other struggles, as has Russia. The timing of the fall of Assad, we've talked about this as well, was um, such that, again, it was after Russia stretched itself thin with the war it started in Ukraine, after Iran stretched itself thin with the war it started through its proxies against Israel, and which, as we say, Israel is not doing enough, but is clearly doing more than Iran expected. And Iran is both of Assad's protectors were unavailable when he needed that protection this time around. Um, but yeah, anybody who thinks the fact that Al-Jolani right now, uh, the fact that he absolutely right now does not want to start a war with Israel. Of course not. He wants to stay in power and he wants to strengthen his power. And now is not the time for him to do something that, of course, is absolutely in line and maybe needed or required by his ideology. But look, the very fact that his response to this was instead of some empty statement of "we don't want a war with Israel," his response should have been, this is I am the leader of this country. It's a country. I am in charge. I am responsible. So I am going to go after the people who fired on a neighbor in our name. He goes to the world and asks for help. Asks for, basically he's playing the victim. And this tells you everything. He absolutely would like to see Israel gone. He just can't do it himself and wants to play the game that has worked so well for the Palestinians and could work for him. He has a much better claim for underdog status than Assad has ever had. And yeah, I am absolutely sure that there are those who are going to buy it and say, look at this poor guy from that lovely organization that flew some people around to I don't know what they would call it, sightsee in Manhattan. I have no idea how these people would spin the fact that they are now uh, they're good with Al Qaeda. Um, and again, that's where it starts. If we right from the start say this person is a savage, doesn't mean we have to go to war with him, but he's a savage. He's not an improvement on Assad. Who's worse doesn't matter, but he's a threat, and we will treat him as such.
Yeah, I don't think you're being fair. He just joined Al Qaeda for experience and to get some, it's like what you don't take what you call them like internships. You don't take internships. So he just interned at Al Qaeda and then became one of the leaders of one of the organizations close to Al Qaeda. Um, but yeah, I mean this whole thing about so yeah, the accountability he's taking, right? It's if there was any sort of Western aligned sort of government anywhere in Middle East, you want Israel as your friend. Like that, you have no other friends here, right? That, and he's not trying to do that. He's not appealing to Israel for any sort of aid, for any sort of like help with anything. They just sort of like, oh, leave us alone, leave us alone. It's no, you you take responsibility for whatever happens. Now, again, if there was any sort of like a better future for Syria, I cannot see any reason why you wouldn't want to be closer to Israel. You pretty much, if you sort of proclaim Western values, if you which he doesn't, so I shouldn't say that. But if you want any sort of individual rights respecting sort of society, then you and Israel have absolutely the same enemies and same allies, right? There is no like pro-Western, Middle Eastern sort of like democracy that would be like okay with Iran or okay with Turkey or okay with Hezbollah. It's absolutely.
Is that what are you answering here? Is there any attempt to claim that that's what they are? They're kind of claiming that they're okay with talking, with not fighting the West. I don't think anybody in Syria is actually claiming to be Western. I mean, this guy meets, a foreign minister and, does this instead of shaking her hand. I mean, which is, I guess, big of him because even the fact that he acknowledges that, in to some extent, women are people too, is, makes him an infidel in some circles that he runs in. So, yeah, I don't know if that's very much of a thing. Uh,
Well, there is some things about, we are going to protect ethnic minorities, and we are sort of like we want. I mean, even I think he talked about sort of like equality of women, women. But again, what does it mean? What does like any of it mean? We haven't seen any sort of like action. But it's sort of the way I was going. why I was sort of like talking about it is if there was anything better out of Syria, you would want Israel as your friend, and we are not seeing anything of that. So I think sort of Syrian government, the current one will be sort of will go a similar way as the last one. It will eventually fall apart. This sort of kind of civil war will continue, although it isn't really because there isn't like civil war means there is sort of like a country you're fighting for, but there is no country of Syria anymore that and hasn't been for a while, right? There is no sort of force that has autonomy or has a control over the whole region. The borders have been split for a long time, so now this whole region is pretty much up for grabs. So the
Yeah,
question
yeah, and
is
yeah. Yeah, and the fact that it's up for grabs, yeah, does mean that again, for security reasons, it would be ridiculous for Israel not to hold at least the territory it now holds, knowing that, what, are you disagreeing with me, or is it something in the chat?
no, it's something in chat.
All right. Yeah, I think Israel absolutely needs to hold some land there, as I said. Thank you, Supicast, for the super chat. Supicast says, if Trump never abandoned the Kurds in Syria, Turkey wouldn't have invaded and given this Al Qaeda branch land and power. This is his fault. Um, I don't know. Look, again, the fall of Assad is a good thing. The fall of one dictator. The problem with the West has always been, especially in the Middle East, where you see two sides fighting and you're like, okay, who's worse for us? And then they start pouring like money and weapons on the other side. And the fact is, they're both bad for us in all of these situations. Sometimes one is worse, and it's not necessarily for ideological reasons. Ideologically, they can be both bad. It's for actually who can apply and implement their ideology more. And so in this case, yes, I mean, this is a better situation for the West than Assad being this, kind of connecting force between Iran and Hezbollah, and kind of having this uh, plausible deniability of, I'm not doing what Hezbollah is doing. It's them. They're a different organization. It is better, and what makes it much better is the fact that again, Israel. I don't think this is spoken of enough. What Israel did with destroying the stockpiles of weapons is absolutely amazing. So Syria does not have attack, and it could not have done that while Assad was still in power, and it could not have done that, for example, today when Trump has embraced Al Qaeda. So Israel did it and did it at the right time. Unlike everything else Israel is doing in this war, this was at the right time, and it was done beautifully. So that needs to be applauded. And But yeah, again, Syria could take a long time to rebuild attacking military capabilities, but not with Turkey's help. Like if Turkey helps, this Syria can be dangerous very, very soon, and that is something to be concerned about as well. And again, a reason to hold on to land. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC asks, has Syria ever had a good government? No, not that I know of. But no, actually, when would they have had a good government? Thank you, Apollo Zeus, for the super chat. Supicast asks, why couldn't they have done it under Assad, Iranian protection? Not just Iranian protection, but the fact that it would have meant war. I mean, that is full-on war if you go and destroy a country's stockpiles of weapons, and it would have been, there would have been a response. And in this sense, the regime fell, and the weapons were just sitting there waiting to be taken, and Israel made sure they're not going to be taken. So that's why this was the perfect timing. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat.
Yeah, and also Israel was at a like an okay stance with Syria for a long time. I mean, the border they share is controlled by both sides, or was controlled by both sides for like 50 years, and nothing really happened there. So it was like an kind of okay, not the worst relationship. Israel was still able to sometimes strike within Syria. I think there was when they struck the Iranian side inside Syria, so it was still able to get away with things. But yeah, once the Assad regime fell, you do. like if Israel has intel that there are weapons and it has no idea what they, because again with the Assad regime at least there was sort of like an understanding that Israel knew it wouldn't just be sort of like suddenly attacked. But once that regime fell, now you have no idea who will come in charge, right? You have no idea who will take control of these weapons and what they will try to do. So yeah, you do whatever is necessary to end it. Now, when it comes to sort of like the Kurdish forces, I mean, that it's Syria and it's problematic, right? Like that there is no sort of like Kurdish state that has control over some part and it's like united or something. It's various organizations. Many of the organizations on the Kurdish sides are like bad and shouldn't be supported. Some of them are sort of like a bit more okay, but there is no sort of like a united thing we are supporting, right? So when we supported sort of like the Kurdish forces, the main reason for was to fight ISIS. Once ISIS was gone or sort of like relatively gone, I mean, again, should the West be involved in every single sort of like civil war or every single conflict, especially when there is no like clear sort of like a better side or clear like a good guy? It's you are just you might just be creating your future enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you choose your allies, don't just ask who are they not, ask who they are, and then often you'll find out they're not actually your allies. WB says, rumors, not me, say that Assad gave the Israelis all the weapons depot locations in exchange for safe passage out of Syria. Yeah, I also heard that. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm sure he's living his best life there in Moscow or St. Petersburg or wherever he is. But in the question, who is worse, Assad or Julani? My answer is Piers Morgan. That's going to be the topic of the reality show. Yeah, Piers Morgan has gone full Piers. I mean, you thought you've seen him go full Piers before. This is next level Piers. Um, yeah, before we get to that, I will mention that tomorrow is the fifth birthday of this show. The first episode was June 5th, 2020. Yeah, I was the Daniel of the channel. I was behind the scenes. Nikos and Gloria were the hosts, and the topic was the riots, the Black Lives Matter riots in the U.S. Tomorrow we are doing a half throwback episode, the riots from BLM to Free Palestine. Make sure you watch. Make sure you give that a preemptive like. So all the Free Palestine and BLM people hear us calling them out. But yeah, Piers, can we filibuster and not talk about him? No, we can't. But thank you, Soupy Cask, for a filibuster super chat. And yeah, we are, Daniel, we have to do this. We committed to it, so we will deliver. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. You can start without me, but the reality show starts in a couple of minutes. We're going to be talking about Piers and Dave Smith going up against Natasha Hausdorff, the somehow favorite punching bag of Hamas propagandists. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.